Hello everyone. This video is to do with a specific issue that's been going on in Kirkby very recently. I've heard reports about this from a number of people, and I've been reading about it in the Echo and in some local pages and papers. And that is that there has been potentially an increased awareness of antisocial behaviour in Kirkby, especially around the town centre, and the announcement's been made that police will be given greater powers, at least in a temporary sense, to try and curtail this. Now, this sort of thing, of course, given these powers, is when done when necessary, is very important. And I think in this instance, it's very important that these be brought in. And this is because I've heard about cases of shopkeepers being harassed and people being harassed in the town centre. And anything like this, of course, is very upsetting to hear, especially when it's happening here in Kirkby. What are my thoughts on this? I'm not an expert on these matters, but I am a resident of Kirkby, and I'm very conscious about how sometimes we are perceived and how certain things can be spun by pages and papers and such. Now, again, absolutely right for this sort of dispersal order to be brought in. Absolutely right that the police are taking action to ensure that shopkeepers and the people visiting the town centre are properly protected and any troublemakers are, dispersed and moved away. However, what I immediately saw online from some people is what upset me. Antisocial behaviour, these sorts of things, is certainly not something that's specific to Kirkby. And I think sometimes certain people can paint a certain image of us. Kirkby's always had to fight against a certain image, a certain reputation as a new town, and the history of Kirkby and the circumstances of why people moved here from areas like Anfield, Everton and such after the war. Sometimes that reputation has stuck with us. It's in my opinion, something that's been wrongly attributed and focused on Kirkby. Now, why I say all these things is, and I've noticed this in the past, when there is an incident in Kirkby or something where extra powers are brought in, or an instance of antisocial behaviour, there's always people online that try and portray Kirkby people as being troublemakers and in a very negative light, should we say. And I feel that's wrong. And again, that's a big reason why I wanted to start this page, not just to raise awareness of local issues, but to bring forward the positives. And I'm aware that a lot of these recent videos have been a little bit negative. I think Kirkby's always suffered from the effects that happen with very rapid growth. People in Kirkby have, certainly initial senses, had a lack of amenities, lack of access to shops. A lot of these things have been addressed in recent times, which is really positive. But especially for young people, there's always been a lack of places to play football, things to do, outlets for all these things. And so when you don't have these positive spaces, this positive development spaces for people to have an outlet, certain things will take over. So boredom leads to, what do you do with this time? And unfortunately, for some at least, it can lead to antisocial behaviour and other negative things that we don't want to see. Say all that, but Kirkby, I think, has always been tarred with a bad brush, has always been given negative press. And I hope that the council do realise that and realise the need to continue with the progress that we've seen in the town centre and the importance of allowing young people to have access to positive resources, positive outlets, positive things in the community. I think that's something which personally a lot of previous councils have really not put much focus on. And I personally am very passionate about continuing the development and seeing the things that Kirkby does need to keep thriving and keep growing and keep improving. I think when I see people giving Kirkby a particular bad press, it does really hit home to me. I've had people look at me a certain way sometimes for being from where I'm at, and I've always been very unashamedly from Kirkby and very much a champion of the people who I think are the best people I've ever met, So yeah, it does upset me, and that's why I wanted to make this video. And I hope that we can talk about positive things in Kirkby in future videos, and I hope that we can keep growing and people can keep engaging. Well, thank you for listening, and I'll catch you next time.